Hey, I'm DJ and welcome to my channel. If you start a career with a goal of changing the world for the better or merely to entertain people, and your audience takes your words and uses them to wreak chaos and spread hate, is that your fault? Is the result really more important than the intent? The article Intent versus Impact, Aligning the Two with Improved Communication by Coach Hub states, in a conflict, one might be tempted to weigh intent over impact. We tend to see things in terms of right and wrong. If we focus on impact, we put perception ahead of intention, and we expect everyone to know how their actions will be seen. Yet by assuming good intent, we make others unaccountable for negative impacts. Doing so minimizes feelings, polices reactions, and possibly marginalizes minorities. So while intention plays a factor in a situation, and may add context to a person's behaviour, the outcome of that behaviour is still far more important. Matt Walsh is a conservative journalist and commentator who has made many flagrant and bigoted remarks over the years. One of these remarks being, the pride flag does not deserve our respect or defence. On August 18, 2023, 66-year-old Laura Ann Laurie Carlton was murdered by 27-year-old Travis Ikaguchi for hanging up a pride flag outside of her store. The man yelled various homophobic slurs before gunning Laurie down. Travis was active on X, formerly Twitter, and had retweeted many tweets by Matt Walsh. Now, while Matt Walsh had nothing to do with this senseless attack and did not play a part in committing it, it is provable that his words affected, moved, and maybe even encouraged the hate within Travis. Now, what is the intent versus outcome in this situation? What are Matt Walsh's intentions by spreading the rhetoric he does? To discourage people from identifying as LGBT? To make more people bigoted against the LGBT? To make being LGBT illegal? To ensure consequences against those who identify as LGBT? Only Matt knows. I don't know what his intentions are, but the outcome of his words are pretty clear, even if only playing a minor role in warping the mind of a deranged man. Recently, I've been noticing an uptick in boring young men creating YouTube channels to basically just become Turkey Tom clones. Except that, while I find Turkey Tom to be edge over substance, at least he has a personality. YouTubers like A Cheeto, Sensitive Society just seem to be extremely watered down versions of Turkey Tom. And while Turkey Tom is becoming more mainstream and therefore his fans have mostly leveled out to being somewhat mentally stable in the comments, A Cheeto and Sensitive Society are just small enough to have a significant number of loud, deranged fans. What I mean by deranged is bigoted and usually violent in the comments. Anyway, let's take a look at A Cheeto for a second. A Cheeto, like most everyone on YouTube, has been making videos about the Ava Tyson situation. And before I go on, I just want to say, fuck Ava Tyson, she is a creep and probably a PDF file. During A Cheeto's video about Ava, he continuously misgendered her. And while I don't care about people disrespecting PDF files, it sets a bad and transphobic precedent to misgender people just because you don't like them. And while for Ava, it's more than just people not liking her, of course, she's a bad person, misgendering her still doesn't help anyone. I'm not going to count him calling her Chris as dead naming since she still keeps that title in her name, but calling her he, him is strange because we don't do this to cisgender people when they misbehave. Imagine if everyone started calling Dr. Disrespect she, her, just because of the recent allegations against him. Misgendering a trans person because they're a bad person sets a precedent. How bad does a trans person have to be for people to confiscate their gender? Do they have to be a predator like Ava? Do they have to be a criminal? What about a content thief? What about a plagiarist? What about just a trans person who is mean? Just an asshole? What about a trans person who just doesn't like the same musical artist as you? How far does it go? But let's move on from that. While A Cheeto claims he is not transphobic and doesn't have anything against trans people, his audience is a whole different story. It seems that a lot of YouTubers like A Cheeto will say things like, I'm not transphobic, but won't go as far to say things like, I support the trans community, because it conflicts with the mostly hateful audience that they've cultivated. Here are some recent comments on A Cheeto's videos about Ava Tyson. They are the P community. That's probably why he came out as trans, to be under the heavily protected umbrella. They are getting shielded because they are trans. Porn addicted, then becomes trans later on. Gateway drug, lol. Why not call him out? Because it hurts the agenda. There are a lot of right-wing conspiracies in his comments that there is some sort of agenda and that trans people are running it. Why is he not being attacked? Because he's trans, that's why. That's all that matters nowadays. If you're trans, you can do whatever you want. That's really how it do be. You should expect anything bad done by any trans person to be covered up, papered over, minimized, because people have such a tribalistic mindset now that they instantly think about defending the identity group instead of dealing with the individual or the specific situation. There is another demographic that does the same thing, but we won't get into that right now. That is a subtle hint to another right-wing conspiracy theory of a certain group of people. They destroyed Dr. Dingleberry, Dr. Disrespect, because he was straight and white. Chris gets defended by the hive mind because he's a T-slur and a groomer. Simple as that. That's how they operate constantly. While no, Cheeto did not make these comments himself, this is the audience he is cultivating, and a lot of these YouTubers who stealthily hide their hate for minority communities have plausible deniability. I'm not a bigot. I can't control what my community says. Of course, but you could make a video denouncing this behaviour, telling people to stop being bigoted, but you don't, because that's most of your audience. Now, let's move on to Sensitive Society. While I feel that his videos are much lower quality than Cheeto's, they are still much the same when it comes to substance. Sensitive Society, just by his name alone, kind of already tells you what kind of content and opinions he's going to have. It's a very Joaquin Phoenix Joker type of username. Sensitive Society has also been misgendering Ava Tyson recently, which I honestly don't care that much about, but it does speak to the bigger issue of how flippant cis people are about trans identity and how trans people are spoken about. Here are some comments under a recent Sensitive Society video. They're using trans as a shield again. I see. Do hope the LGB separates from the T. The community is quick to call out people who talk to minors, but when it's one of their own, they are silent. There's nothing regular about being gay or trans. Hope this helps. Probably because there is correlation, people just refuse to see it because it would be phobic. I've had similar experiences. I've noticed that the majority of trans people I've met have gone on to be creeps, as have the majority of furries I've met, despite the constant claims from members of both groups that they aren't sex pests. There is nothing the same about being trans or being a furry, and there's no correlation between being a predator and being trans. There's no data for it. You aren't a transphobe for pointing out something. It's not transphobic to recognize that for such a small population of the people, the rates of predatory behavior is quite alarming. Being gay is perfectly fine. Cutting off body parts, however, should not be normalized. What about plastic surgery? Are you going to get rid of plastic surgery? Can people not get nose jobs? When do you draw the line at chopping off body parts? Is it only trans people that you're not okay with chopping off their body parts? You see a trend here, right? With trans people and children? Because I do, but nobody wants to admit it. As a gay man, any man who starts dressing as a girl and pretends it is completely a fetish and it's disgusting, these are the kind of people that need to be locked away. Remember when every woke YouTuber called SunnyV2 transphobic because he dared to say what exactly turned out to be true? Well, I hope apologies are coming because SunnyV2 deserves them. I keep seeing this kind of rhetoric about SunnyV2 needing an apology, and it makes me laugh because Sunny literally only said that Ava being a trans person was going to ruin Mr. Beast's career. This was before anything about her being a predator came out. So no, he needs no apology because he didn't say anything of substance in his original video. Anyway, as you can see, Sensitive Society also seems to attract a lot of hateful people who have bigoted, disgusting comments which never seem to be reported or taken down. This was just a quick video of a recent trend I've noticed of YouTubers cultivating hateful audiences and using plausible deniability to get away with not addressing the issue. If people like Sensitive Society and Cheeto want me to believe they aren't bigots, they need to clearly state that they aren't. That's all from me. Thanks for watching, have a good day and stay safe.